everyone. This packet tracer we are going to implement VLANs and trunking. Okay, this is our addressing table. Our objectives will be to configure VLANs, then assign ports to VLANs, then configure static trunking, and finally configure dynamic trunking. Okay, as background, you are working in a company that is getting ready to deploy a set of new 2960 switches in a branch office. You are working in the lab to test out the VLAN and trunking configurations that are planned. Configure and test VLANs and trunks. Okay, instructions. Part 1. Configure VLANs. Configure VLANs on all 3 switches. Okay, here in our topology you have 3 switches, lots of PCs, and 1 IP phone. Okay, refer to the VLAN table. Note that the VLAN names must match the values in the table exactly. Okay, these are our VLAN numbers, our VLAN names. Okay, part 2. Okay, so let's start by configuring the VLANs in the switches. So, well, we can do something first, which is, sorry. Okay, let's change our terminal history size This is for all 3 switches. Okay, VLAN 10, name, admin, then okay, VLAN 20, name, accounts, then our VLAN 30, name, HR, VLAN 40, name, voice, then VLAN 99, name, management, okay, and last it's the VLAN 100, which will be our native VLAN. Okay, I can do exit. We can use do show history. Okay, and now we can copy our commands and paste those commands. Okay, you can see it's all configured. Okay, it's this command about the history makes the things a little bit faster. Okay, this is our VLANs configured. Okay, and we'll do the same for this switch. We will paste our configurations. And that's all. Okay, let's continue. Part 2, assign ports to VLANs. Step 1, assign access ports to VLANs. On SWB and SWC, okay, assign the ports to the VLANs. Refer to the addressing table. Assign ports to VLANs, okay. So SWB, let's see. These are our ports that we have to address. Each one, okay. So let's start. Interface fast Ethernet 01, switch port mode, access, switch port access VLAN 10. Okay. Okay, the next will be interface fast Ethernet 0/2 switch port mode access switch port access VLAN 20. Okay, then interface fast Ethernet 0/3 switch port mode access switch port access VLAN 30. Okay, that's all. Okay, we have our three interfaces, so our three VLANs 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's we can do exactly the same for the other switch. Do show history. Okay, we can copy these commands because it's exactly the fast Ethernet 1 through 3. Okay, configurations, but we have another configuration in the interface fast Ethernet 0/4. Okay, this will be switch port mode access switch port access VLAN. Okay, we have the VLAN 10. Now we have to use the MLS quality of service trust cosh. Okay, and now we can use the switch port voice. Okay, VLAN 40, which is for voice. This is quality of service over class of service. Okay. Okay, now we can exit. So you can see this interface is associated with this VLAN and this VLAN, one for voice and one for data. Okay, let's continue. These two switches are already configured. Step 2, configure the voice VLAN port. Okay, configure the appropriate port on switch SWC for voice VLAN functionality. Okay, I've already configured that. Okay, configure the virtual management interfaces. Create the virtual management interfaces on all three switches. Address the virtual management interface according to the addressing table. The switches should not be able to ping each other. We have already configured the VLAN, but now you have to configure the virtual interface for management. Okay. Okay, it was already up. We have configured. Okay. Let's do the same for the others. Okay, now it's configured. Okay. Create virtual. Okay. Address virtual. Done. The switches should not be able to ping each other. Okay. For example, okay, can't ping. Can't ping. Okay. Okay. Okay, so let's continue. Now, configure static trunking. Configure the link between SWA and SWB as static trunking. Disable dynamic trunking on this port between these two switches. Okay. Okay. So let's go to interface gigabit 0/1. Let's use the switch port mode trunk. No switch port no negotiate. Okay. Okay, and now let's configure the native that we have. Switch port trunk native, and the native VLAN that we use, it's 100. Sorry. Well, let's go to the other. Switch port mode trunk. Switch port no negotiate. Okay, for native VLAN. Okay. Now they are both green. This is done. Now disable. Now disable dynamic trunking protocol on the switch port on both ends of the trunk link. Well, okay. Disable dynamic trunking on this port. Disable the TP on the switch port on both ends of the trunk link. Okay, that's what I've done. That's what I've done. Configure the trunk with the native VLAN and eliminate native VLAN conflicts if any. Okay, that's what I've done. Okay. And now part 4, configure dynamic trunking. Okay, assume that trunk port on SWC is set to default DTP mode for 2960 switches. Okay. So what I will use will be switch port mode trunk. So if the other interface is configured with the dynamic mode with the trunk mode will change to trunk. Okay. Okay, and now it's okay. See, okay. Oh, we have a mismatch. Native VLAN mismatch is covered on gigabit 0/2 with a switch, okay, but our native is 100. So probably we have a conflict, we have a problem in this switch. Okay, what I can do is show interfaces switch port gigabit, well, (0/2) switch port. Okay, so let me see. Trunking native mode VLAN, it's 1. Okay, it's wrong. So let's configure it right. Switch port. Okay, we have already done. This will be okay. Now port consistency restored.